Aye. Stranger.
Hello.
How you been?
Good, how are you?
Good. Back on the beat? Yeah, we have that. It's on the agenda.
I remember that. Let me see that one.
Yeah, I remember it yesterday. Have it. Yes, right, first page here.
Yeah, it should be on the back of what I'm reading too, Randy.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
Oh, that's the
I call it the cheat sheet thing.
Got it.
scorecard.
Yeah, that's better way to put it.
All right, so 5:30, and I will call today's regularly scheduled Bucyrus City Schools Board of Education meeting to order. Can we get a roll call, Mr. Cook?
Yes, Mrs. Graves,
Present.
Mrs. Jones,
Here.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Mr. Crown,
Yes.
Mr. Blankenship.
Here. Okay, so everyone will join me in the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is going to be approval of today's board agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Yes, Mr. Crown,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Mrs. Graves.
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Blankenship.
Yes. And then next will be, there is an addendum for today's board agenda, so we just need to approve that.
So moved. Support.
I'm sorry, who was the second? Thank you.
Roll call?
Yes, Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Graves,
Yes.
Mr. Crown,
Yes.
Mr. Blankenship.
Yes. And then next will be section 4, it'll be approval of the board minutes from our regular board meeting on August 18, 2021, and a special board meeting held September 1st, 2021.
Moved.
Support.
Roll call?
Mr. Crown,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Mrs. Graves,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Blankenship.
Yes. Next will be recognition of visitors and public participation. We do have one person, Ms. Angela Principal, that would like to address the board. You have 3 minutes, and we just ask that you be respectful and professional.
Right,
Thank you.
here,
You can stand up if you'd like.
here.
Yep.
Thank you for this opportunity. With all due respect, my name is Angela Pernstone, and I currently have a child in the Bucyrus school system. I'm here today to voice my concern about the mask mandate implemented against our children during school hours, and to let you know that I am strongly opposing this policy from this point out. We as a family have been 100% compliant up to this point, but I wanted to send a heads up that as of next week, I will no longer be sending my son to school with a mask on, nor am I allowing him to wear one during school hours. The line of compliancy was crossed when after 6 hours of wearing one, he became very uncomfortable, pulled it down under his nose, and was threatened by staff to be put out in the hallway if he didn't correct it. This has now become unacceptable to me. What once was compliancy has now become control. Surrounding school districts have been given the opportunity to choose, yet Bucyrus has not, and our son is a healthy, very active, and does not get into trouble at the school, and should have never been threatened to be removed for such a minor event. We absolutely are aware that COVID does exist. We also know that at some point in time that we all, including the vaccinated individuals, will more than likely catch COVID, and no mask is going to prevent that. We are a family that practices our faith over fear, and we totally put our lives and our health in God's hands, not in the hands of policies, rules, and regulations. So when the threats of punishment for not bowing to restrictions that were imposed without being given an opportunity to vote for or against, it becomes a control issue, and now it's time to speak up against that. My husband and I have had 8 children in the school district, and we know Bucyrus is better than this. We live in a community of broken children that have circumstances at home that are beyond terrible, and feel that time and resources should be spent addressing those issues instead. Rest assured that if my son is sick, we will practice our common sense and keep him at home. We have no intentions of putting anyone at risk, but to allow his natural immune system, which is found in the filtering systems of our nose hairs and tonsils, to be exercised, and that right is being smothered by policies and threats, and I'm no longer okay with that. Also note that in no way, shape, or form would I ever begin to tell another parent what is best for their child, but I'm speaking up for what is best for mine, and I no longer want him masked. I entrusted the school system to do the right thing by our kids, which would have been freedom of choice, and they failed. So now I'm here to make this choice for him and to put on the record that I will no longer force him to wear one. And to abide by the rules in page 39 of the online student handbook, which states mask and face coverings are not permitted inside the school, and we will honor that rule. And every repercussion or disciplinary action taken against him will be documented for further action if necessary. I am a veteran of the United States military, as well as spent more than half of my life spent in nursing, and have been exposed to more sicknesses than you will ever know. For us as a family, we want the freedom of choice. And as long as every other building throughout our community is giving us a choice, then I will continue to practice those freedoms in this building as well as encourage parents to do the same. I do not come here to argue or debate, but to simply stand up on my child's behalf. I do not have any intentions on telling anyone how to do their jobs, and I'm asking that the school board show me the same respect and not tell me how to do mine as a parent. And I will encourage my son to follow all rules within your student handbook. Thank you.
That was it for public participation, correct?
Sure.
Okay. Mr. Cook, you're up with the treasurer report.
Okay, good evening. You've got my report in front of you. We had a good month in August. Due in part to timing of receiving our coverage code settlement, we were down in July. Maybe that would balance out in August. It just depends on when the county gets that sent over to us. Taxes are up slightly year over year, which is positive news for the district. just shy of about $90,000 on that first settlement. So again, positive news there, especially given COVID, some of the things we were expecting and anticipating, positive news playing out. You should be getting, I don't know if you get a call or an email from the Auditor of State's office. I don't know if everybody will get it, but they send out a fraud form. That's kind of a standard compliance issue every year. So don't wonder what it is if you get contacted by that. They need you to fill it out, complete it, and get that back. I've got the engagement letter for them. They started a little over a month ago. They're hoping, it says in the engagement letter, to be done, I believe it's the end of February. Typically we wrap it in January, but with COVID, they're not going to be here as much on site. We were remote last year, so it's just going to bog down and protract out. But that's standard practice. A couple items on the agenda tonight. I spoke about switching ITCs, I think last month. Have proposed move to Meta Solutions on there. We were with them a few years back. Much more cost effective for us. We're going to get better support for fiscal staff with our software, EMIS, and then student services out in the building. I've had extremely positive comments from the folks that this involves. We've met with Meta. We've got a timetable. If the board approves it tonight, we're going to shift from Milwaukee to Meta 11-1. They've done all their project planning. Everything's mapped out with them. They've started most of the planning and implementation phases with us. So it's positive. There's always hiccups with a move like this, but it should be for the most part seamless, especially with everything on the web anymore. It's not housed on systems. Everything's out there in the cloud and stored. So that's a positive. I had emailed earlier. We talked the last couple months about maintenance, employment, IT employment. I sent you updates on those. Those are on there. I have updated appropriations. We have to what they call a final expenditure report for our federal programs. The federal fiscal year runs October 1 through September 30. So we're in the process of submitting final expenditure reports. So I clean up all those grants. These are our updated initial appropriations that I have to have finally approved by September 30th to submit to Joan. I try to update those every couple months. You guys are used to that by now. You see them. And the last item we talked about was the camera replacement. I know we visited this item, I believe 2 years ago, or just thereabout. We had talked about it the last couple of months, and I know Mrs. Gray has raised the point, cameras in the weight room facility, they are in there. The proposed is still from our low bid. We had them refresh the quote. It's X-Tech. It's $144,000. What I think is the rub, and what I know we're going to run up against, we have an analog wired system in our buildings. All of the cameras nowadays are digital. So you have to buy converters. Well, at some point in time, those are going to be almost impossible to find. We've been able to get them in the past when we band-aided the system last time, but it's very, very difficult to take a digital camera and connect to the analog. So what frustrates me is it's an expensive $144,000 staff student safety item. 71,000 of that is the actual cable itself in the buildings, the guts of it, if you will, that runs. That's the hang up on this thing. Why it's slated to be a summer project. If we run into a situation, and I'm by no means suggesting we will, won't, or whatnot, but if COVID presents an opportunity where we have a gap through the school year, we've had that in the past, we'll work with the vendor if it's approved to see if we can tuck this thing in advance of summer. Again, I don't know how feasible that is. I don't know their schedule because it's not approved yet. We don't have it slated. But if we don't have people in the buildings and contractors can work, I'd certainly like to take advantage of that time if we can. Their initial estimate is it's a 3-week project. And my experience with projects is that's what they're telling us up front, but until they get into the buildings and actually start the work, you don't know. High school will be pretty seamless. The elementary buildings where it's going to bog down. It's a 100-year-old building. I mean, you're taking modern technology and more or less boring through old plaster and brick and whatever else is in there. So we have to bite the bullet at some point in time. This is a good year from my spot fiscally to take a look at these capital expenditures because I can smooth that revenue and expense. Excuse me, these things with the federal monies that we're getting. So instead of waiting, spending maybe on salaries or other stuff, biting the bullet down the road when the fiscal picture might be tighter, it's a good time to do it. It's coming. I mean, we put in last time it was $25,000 in the Band-Aid just to bring the cameras that were broken up. We've had our SROs complaining about it. I remember the conversation vividly the week before. I had a parent call me. It was a theft issue at the high school, and there was no camera coverage.
Right.
Um,
I remember that too.
It's a chunk of change. I mean, to be honest, as treasurer, I'd rather not spend it. But I can tell you that we can't avoid the expense. We've got a system that was put in place back in the renovation 09-ish. It's 2021. It's an analog-based system. Everything has just gone digital, and it's just a sign of the times, if you will. So the coverage is going to be better. We have more cameras than we do now. For example, we have no cameras in here. I mean, there are times when there's the ladies working in this office, and they might be it. If Matt's not here, I'm not here. We've never had a problem, but you never have a problem until you have a problem. So, and this office is a minimal expense with that, but we'll have updated throughout the building. There'll be better coverage in the buildings. I've heard that issue constantly over the years from administrators when there's fights, problems, et cetera. So I've got that on there. Certainly up to you guys what you decide to do with that. Biggest item, track. Again, feds are helping us out. We have authorization on there if you approve it for Matt and I to get the bid together to replace the all-weather track. The budget's been submitted to ODE. It's a federal grant. These things take time, et cetera. They have the letter from our attorney. They have our plan for ESSER. We're just waiting on formal approval. We can get the bid together, but what we really don't want to do is go out to bid and start spending anything until ODE has signed off on it. But first step of that process is to get your approval and move forward with that tonight.
And that's the one that's covered with the.
Yeah, that's out
ESSER
of
money.
what they call ESSER 3, ESSER
Right.
ARP. I think it's American Relief Project
Yeah.
or something like that. Yes. yes.
And the cameras, I remember that same discussion we ran into, so many of them not working and the analog situation was
We
bad.
continue to have issues with picture quality when we
Yeah.
need them.
I know they were the first thing we went to, like if a child was injured on a playground or whatever, you know, you automatically go to the cameras and
It's kind
When they're
of
not
the
working, it's
insurance
bad.
policy day to day for administrators when there's an issue. I mean, I know we've had communications I've seen come through from staff on unfortunately knuckleheads at the elementary tearing things up outside.
That's no secret, that's been an issue for.
Oh, that's been an issue, I mean, the
Right.
entire time I've been here prior to. It's not gonna stop it. I mean, don't misunderstand me. It's certainly not gonna stop it, but if something drastic were to occur,
Might strongly discourage.
we may have better footage to
Yes.
work with the police department on.
and I know that those cameras are an enormous help when there's
They can't.
questions.
They're not perfect, but.
No, they're not
it's
perfect, but they
the
are
best set of
better.
eyes we have if nobody's around.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think, you know, kick it, we've kicked the can down the road about as long as we can kick it.
We can wait. I just know it's a good time to do some CapExes when we have the federal funds available to offset the general fund.
Because at one time, like 20 of them didn't work, am I correct on that?
Seems close to correct. I know we had a bunch, but,
Yeah, it was rather shocking.
so I'll entertain any questions if you have any, but that concludes my report.
Thank you. Is there any other questions for Brian? No. Okay, we just need a motion for his report.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call?
Mr. Khan,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Graves,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Mr. Blankenship.
Yes. Mr. Chrisman, your superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, board, visitors, and folks out there in Cyberville. School's in session. We got off to a great start. Appreciate the board's support. While controversial as it is to mask our students, we've seen a leveling off, actually decrease in students out this week, and I think you'll see that in the dashboard when it comes out this weekend. Appreciate the cooperation of our families, our students, our staff, of course, and getting that done. The transition was relatively smooth. As I shared with the board a week ago, they pushed out the release date for the report cards to October 14th. Report cards are going to, guess what, they're changing. not gonna be, they're really just gonna have the data, we're not gonna have grades. I don't know how much comparative data there's going to be, which is okay. We know what we need to focus on. I still think we can set goals for our 4-year graduation rate and increasing student achievement, just given what we're dealing with. Ryan, if you could pop the the optimal achievement.
Zoom expert, so bear with me.
Can you say okay?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got new glasses, but I can't have them. Let me find it here. It's 122. Should be showing up.
There.
Good?
So can you zoom in on it a little bit?
Yeah, let me try that.
So I shared this in your board packet, and it's kind of a merging of when I first came to Bucyrus, the triangle, and kind of where we were going to start with addressing, the top of the triangle, which is the ultimate goal for every child. We want every child to achieve at their highest rate possible. And we know that's very different given skills, abilities, and all those variables. But it starts with us as adults and, assessing where we're at with teaching standards daily and on up the triangle. And then the language that we use and, does everybody know what those things mean as staff members? And we're still working on those pieces again, because we were midstream with that and then the pandemic hit. So we're getting back to basics. If we could scroll down then, Ryan.
Tell me when.
Yeah, just keep going until we get some colors. Yeah. So, we've moved some folks around. There's good. That's good right there. Thanks. We have some new administrators on our team, and they hit the ground running, and it was a lot. And that's what I heard. It's like we're just having how does it all fit together? I said, I will come back with that. And so the next morning, Mrs. Radulovich and Dr. Wallace were available. I said, come on back here. I filled that whiteboard with different shapes and all the different things that we're working on. And at first it was like, there is a lot of stuff here. Okay, how can we boil this down? Let's see if it all fits. And if there are things that don't fit, then we need to talk about whether or not we need to do them or not. And so this is what we came up with. We went through 4 or 5 of those whiteboards and got everything lined up, and everything really fits under that one goal, which is to have each student learning optimally. And the board sets goals for 4-year graduation rate and performance index or passage rate. That's right in there with that goal. So what are the different things we're working on? Curriculum map completion. That's supposed to be lime green color. That's linked to that goal. That's something we have to do. That's that bottom foundational piece. We have the reading achievement plan that we implemented last year, but studied the year before. That's a compliance piece. We have to do that. That's something that we can't say, yeah, we're not going to do that. The literacy grant that we were awarded through NCOESC, not a compliance piece. It's something we signed up to do, but there was plenty of evidence to show that our 9th through 12th graders were struggling still with reading across the content area. Kids need to be able to read to learn. It's linked to that goal. The School Quality Improvement Grant, which was applied for from the previous administration, addresses universal design for learning. Not only is it's a compliance piece with our Ohio Improvement Plan. It's something that we have to be a part of because of our poor performance previously. So that falls under compliance pieces. OTES 2.0, which is the new evaluation tool that we have to use with teachers. That's a compliance piece. They're training pieces. We have to do it. PBIS, positive behavior intervention support. Have to do that by law. 21st Century Grant. That is a wonderful after-school program, but it is linked to that goal of student achievement because those are pieces that we measure not only with parents, but with the teachers, our kids, our students, the rate of turning in attendance better, or is there a change in performance? So that is a measurable piece that is connected to that overarching goal. And then our Ohio achievement test, state test administration, we have training on that every year. That is a compliance piece. As you know, we had our special ed profile dictated to us that there are certain things that we have to take care of. We have 4 teachers out today and tomorrow, ISs, for math training, for math intervention. Could we have used those folks in our building today? Was it a pain in the butt to have our administrators covering classes all day? Absolutely. It's a compliance piece. We can't get around that stuff. We just can't tell the state no. And then our one needs assessment, again, is part of that special ed audit. So that was everything that we had up there. And it took a while, but as we shared it with Mr. Wallace, and Dr. Singh, and Mr. Panamarzik, it made sense. They took a deep breath. We're starting to share it with staff because they're feeling it also as we're running out of substitutes. There's just some things that we have to do because the state says we have to do it. And there are other things we have to do if we're going to accomplish those goals and improve student achievement. So lots of acronyms, lots of stuff. We'll be talking more about it throughout the year, but there it is in one big snapshot under that one goal for academic excellence and improvement. So I wanted to share that with the board tonight. Questions about that before I go on?
No, I appreciate the color coding, that helps. I think that makes it clearer and
Other than that, it's just a list.
yes,
Yeah.
well, and I do know that, some of the people were talking about the IS people being out of the classroom and stuff, but as you said, there are things that are compliance issues and we don't have an option on there.
I was
So yes, it's a pain in the butt.
conversations with Mr. Panamarzik and Dr. Singh, and it was on the run to their next class.
Yeah.
So, that's just, and it could be me tomorrow, so we'll just see who,
Well, bless you all for
so whatever we have to do.
for
So,
being those teachers, yeah.
any other questions, or again, lots to digest, shoot me your questions, or thoughts. Resource stability, we're getting a lot of, I think Ryan touched on the weight room bidding process, getting a lot of folks calling in for the whole package, for part of the package, and I'm very excited to see what we come up with. And tuning in last night to the athletic council meeting, all the coaches are very excited that the board has supported this project, and know it's going to be a great thing for our student athletes and gym classes. So we're asking for authorization to do the same thing for the track this evening. All the stuff that we ordered, I sent you a pretty extensive list of PPE, masks, signage, and those types of things that we purchased for all the buildings. Everything's come in and been delivered. And then personnel, we're still looking for folks. We are getting, believe it or not, the $180 you let us spend on those banners that we put out in front of all the buildings. We're getting lots of calls, lots of interest, directing people to our website. So I haven't checked to see how many completed applications we have, but we're getting interest and people asking questions, full-time, what building, that type of thing, because I hear Debbie answering the calls and questions, so, hopefully we're gonna get some support, at least for our classified folks. Community relations, hopefully you've seen some of the, we're being more active on our website, putting more things on there, and, if you haven't been on it this week, there's a great commendation Deb Brideball received along with Rocky for, they had a celebration of life service for the dog that serviced Tiffin City Schools, and I know they were very appreciative for her being there, but also talked about the program that she's involved with up in Toledo that's going to benefit future dogs and trainers in the future. But our folks are doing a better job of getting us stuff, getting fresh pictures, and trying to liven it up. Jim Isler and Ryan and myself met with a representative from School Point. School Point is the company that we get our website from. They were bought out by another company called Final Sight, and Final Sight has a very powerful, robust platform, and we're going to benefit from it. We were very impressed with the add-ons, some of the templates that we've looked at that are a lot cleaner, that allow for more news stories on our front page. The one thing I'm very excited about is there's going to be an opt-in section, so community members that don't have grandkids or kids in the school can get on if they want to receive all our calls, all our emails, just some of them, from this building, but not this building. It's going to be a nice piece for the community to tap in and find out and stay in touch with what's going on in the school. So we may transition to their new platform as early as January. So I have a follow-up call. Actually, I just received the quote as we were sitting here a little bit earlier. We are going to be grandfathered in under the current cost, which is nice. So I think we all felt really good about staying with Final Sight is the new company. Have to give a shout out to our staff. We have a young person that lost his father over the last, or 2 weeks ago. Our staff rallied together $1,600 to give to the family. And it's not the first time our staff has come together and pulled money together to help folks out, but that was quite a sum and just speaks volumes to the folks that we get to serve with. Lastly, student experience, lots of smiles behind the masks and before the mask coming back to school. First day of school is always awesome. We're still planning on having homecoming in October. I think we're still going to have it indoors. I think we have the number of students that we think will have attend, between 150 to 200. We can spread them out if need be and keep them active and at least having a homecoming this year. I know Dr. Singh and Mrs. Plumley are working on that, and the kids are really excited about having homecoming. Attendance at athletic events, again, an initiative by the board to allow our students to come and hang out together while they're supporting their classmates has been well received. It's really been awesome to see. So that's my report under the 4 areas of academic excellence and resource stability, community relationships, and the student experience. And I'll have more to say as we get into the rest of the report.
Any questions for Mr. Crispin? None? Okay. We will go on to section 8, personnel certified staff. Any highlights for that
Nothing
section?
to add there.
Okay.
Nope. Except we wish we could beef up that substitute teacher list.
Is there, I know that some are hard to find, and I think that the district upped the wage, a couple of years ago? Is that something that we should look at? Is that gonna solve our problems, or just not, it's not
Honestly,
worth it?
It isn't gonna break us if we do it, but I don't think we've seen really any impact.
I know it's not exclusive to us.
No, this is a conversation a lot of us treasurers in the region have. We haven't seen anybody come to us and say it's helping, if that makes sense. I think pre-COVID, it didn't hurt, but I think really what we're facing now is all the opinions on it, if you will, have hurt the pool of folks that really wanna come into the school system to work. So I don't personally know that compensation would affect it positively.
I think we're paying right along with,
Yeah, we're in line,
What
yeah, we're in
everybody
line,
else
yeah.
is.
And I keep an eye on it. I haven't asked it yet this year, but I can certainly find out what everybody else is doing and get
Okay.
back with you guys on that, just to make sure we're not out of whack.
from what I understand, it really is not a money issue, it's,
I understand, I just didn't know if that's come up.
We didn't see any uptick when we did it.
Is there still, I know when COVID, there was they kind of relaxed on the requirements of it being just a 2-year instead of a 4-year. Are we still in that?
oh, really?
Are we still in
So
that?
bachelor's, there is talk, at our regional update last week that I attended, that there's legislation in Columbus. They're trying to fast track it to leave it up to local districts to say, yeah, we want to go down that path and allow.
That would be huge.
Yes, they just can't find the right, because I think what they're worried about, I know what they're worried about is, okay, what if a district goes beyond an associate's degree, is it, we're letting anybody that has a high school diploma walk into school and stand in front of kids for all day? I don't think that's the vision.
Right.
So they're trying to find something.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Are the local schools also having the same issue?
It's everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
It's
And
It's everywhere,
substitutes and bus drivers have been a constant. I've
Yeah, I
heard.
mean,
one of
it's,
our neighbors shut down for a day because they didn't have some bus drivers.
right,
I follow a lot of publications, and it's a national issue.
I was gonna say, it's not even just Ohio, it's everywhere,
It's definitely Ohio, it's the state, I mean, everybody's banging this drum.
but it's also national, yeah.
Subs, I mean, I see it on the classified side, food service, custodial, I mean, it's just hard. And you turn on the news and you hear about the private sector, they can't find people to work, and it's just hard to get them in, to sub. We're running into it.
Or we're competing with, find a place in town that doesn't have a help wanted sign up.
Yeah.
Or right, I mean, they're all around.
Well, and people are questioning, how many people do I wanna be exposed to, and, and a school is a germ factory on a good day. Unfortunately.
All right, well, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we just need a motion to approve items 8.1 through 8.4.
So moved.
Support?
Roll call?
Mr. Powell,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Graves,
Yes.
Mr. Blankenship.
Yes. Okay, that takes us to personnel classified staff.
So I will, again, on behalf of the classified and certified staff, thank the board for hopefully their approval of 9.3 and 9.4. And our custodians, we need just a little bit more manpower. They've been running full speed since this thing hit spring of 2020 and not stopped. And so certainly hiring Steve's going to be a great help. And then you talk to our teachers, the more they're trying to stay in the remote world and keep their skills that they learned last year up. we need additional IT help. And, so appreciate the board's support on that. And then Dave Layton surprised us with his resignation. Been with the district for quite a while and has secured another position, and we wish him the best of luck and thank him for his services to the district.
Thank you. Okay, we need a motion to approve items 9.1 through 9.6. So moved. Roll call?
Mr. Khan,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Graves,
Yes.
Mr. Blankenship.
Yes. Okay, that takes us to the business section of today's agenda. I know there's some highlights in here.
Yes, sir. I spoke about the track, the cameras, you see a couple items on here, and Mr. Christman, if you're gonna talk about them, I'll do your thunder, but they're basically compliance pieces, Golden Touch, for example, on these grants. We get these federal programs, 21st Century, the School Quality Improvement Grant. With these grants comes compliance requirements, and this is the lady who does that monitoring and compliance piece for us. We don't have a choice, we're required to have this. The grant covers the cost of this service, so in case you wondered what those were, and why they're on there. I discussed Meta on there. We have you guys listed for, board, members to drive approved vehicles, not a bus. I don't think anybody here has a CDL, but if you do and you're interested, I'm sure Marty would love to talk to you as a sub. Updated appropriations I covered, and then to me, the phenomenal news, again, I know this is huge for the district, but kudos to you guys. Getting a new whole-headed track is just, I don't know. I'm kind of tickled pink about it because it's a huge capital.
It is a huge deal. That's,
It's the thing that always, in districts I've been part of, big and small, you're looking at $300,000-$400,000 project, and you're using science books that are 20 years old, and
Yep.
and
Yeah,
you're like,
exactly.
okay, we can make sure we don't run in lane one, and let's get those books for kids, and it gets pushed off for another year, and then it just,
yeah, it's a huge expense.
it's great to have this resource, and,
We have, just as a reminder, we don't know the scope. If we get into it, there's drains. We budgeted with the state $900,000 for the project. So I'm certainly not committing to anything until they approve it, we get the bids in. But if we can get it allowed for some additional work over there on some other items that maybe need, we'll put those in front of you as well that are eligible for the grant. So we budgeted high, at least I hope high enough, and then we may be able to knock out some other things as well.
But like you, I mean, I think it's really, we are so fortunate that the state, is coming up with that kind of money because that's an enormous expense to a district. So to be able to have that money coming from the state level is quite something rare.
Matt, you've done this timeline. We're looking at next summer, should hope weather bearing, have it done before PIC is the goal, I'm assuming.
yeah, it would be nice to be able to go to Capitol Conference and meet vendors and give them our packet, or at least give them our contact information to get the packet.
Yeah.
And if you're shooting for, hey, I want you on our track, tearing it up as soon as the last practice happened in May, you want to be on somebody's calendar by February, March,
Right.
really.
Okay. Perfect.
So yeah, a lot of, just, special services that we need to, enter into contracts for some of our IEP, our students with disabilities. And, usually most of those are annual contracts. I have, this might be a first for this board. 10.5 is a proposal for a Unity Club, which is a group of students that came together, and we always say, hey, if you want to start a group, you gotta have one of our people, one of our teachers preferably, to be the advisor. Tonight with us in the audience is Abby Eichler Club, who's one of our awesome teachers, science teacher, who has stepped up to be the advisor if this club is approved. So you have any questions at this time, I certainly open it up to ask about the Unity Club. If not, we can keep rolling.
Can you get some adults in this too?
Absolutely.
Okay.
As of right now, I have two other teachers and then Mrs. Pond, our guidance counselor, who are supporting the group and helping by hanging the flyers that I've created to inform students of the new club about to begin, and who are ready to be another safe space for our students.
Good, I think this would be a good example for not only our town, but everybody outside of our town too.
Yeah,
Good
I
message.
agree.
How many students did you have that, like at the moment, that just to come forward that wanted to be involved?
I probably have about 20 right now.
Okay.
And these are students who are very open about their identity, sharing it not only with me, but other teachers and their peers. And I asked them last year if this sort of group would be something that they think is beneficial to them and their peers, and they said yes. So I started talking with other teachers then to get it put together, and it came together for this school year. And I think now that it's becoming really substantial, they're gonna share with some of their friends who are maybe feeling more shy or uncomfortable to say, yeah, come and join us.
Yeah, I think a mental health outlet for kids and just a spot where they can feel okay is 100% a good idea.
Me too.
Any other questions?
Thank you. I think that's one of the things we do really well at all our buildings is we have outlets for students. Before, back when I went to school, the square pegs you just forced into the round hole. And there weren't as many of them and they got tossed aside, but they really couldn't fit. And that's not the way of public education anymore. And you have to have multiple resources, multiple outlets for students with different interests and different identities. And I'm glad we're able to do that.
And Matt, I think even more so after this past year, the effect we've seen on youth mental health,
Oh, absolutely.
any more resource we can give.
Yeah. The numbers
So-
from CCPH are,
For you and anybody else involved, kudos for taking that upon yourself to do.
Well, thank you so much. The kids are really excited.
When is the club typically, when do they typically meet?
I haven't held any meetings yet,
Okay.
trying to be respectful of it having not been board approved. The only thing I've created so far was an intro flyer that had a small chunk of the purpose right on the front, as well as a Remind 101 text, if you're familiar with that, where I can send like a meeting message saying, when are good times to meet? Kids can respond, or I could say, once we're ready to go, we're having a meeting Wednesday, blah, 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 and then they would like to join. So we haven't had an official meeting yet, it's just me talking with the kids.
Because typically what clubs, I guess, would be before school or after school, not in the middle of the day kind of thing.
yeah, we're pretty protective of our instructional time, for sure.
Some of the other club advisors have created a Google Sheet where the different clubs have been putting in their preferred meeting times, so other clubs aren't scheduling on top of each other.
That's good.
So once we're ready, I'll take a look at that and then survey my students who'd like to participate, to make sure we're on a time where they can come if they want.
I would say, yeah, as long as it's not like how you put it, it's
Yep,
not
instructional time.
taking up instructional time, then.
Thank you. 10.15, logo committee has approved another logo, which is the oval B is what we called it. And also they're recommending that our colors, red and white, should be the predominant colors for our cloth uniforms. Outline in black is fine. And then, as far as hats and helmets, those can be predominantly black with, whatever logo of those three, one on there, if they get another one approved. So,
What's going to be our process for And Randy, you're on the logo committee, aren't you? Or-
Yes.
Okay. Just introducing or removing logos and, are we going to cap the amount of logos that we allow or?
I was
So-
wondering, are we gonna grandfather?
Yeah,
Those that are-
everything that was, like I think we have, Phil mentioned last night, there are boys' basketball uniforms coming in that the numbers are predominantly black. Well, they were ordered over the summer. We're not touching anything
Right.
until,
Just
as
going
soon as it's board
forward,
approved, it's law and we're moving forward.
right,
We're not going back and saying, okay, now you gotta get rid of this, you gotta get rid of.
Right.
As those things phase out, yes, what's
Okay.
ever in place is
Okay.
what they have to choose from and we'll move forward.
gotcha.
And for any sort of fundraisers, what's the approval process for like shirt designs?
Yeah, so, we don't really wanna get into shirt designs. What we want our coaches to share with their booster groups, is, hey, here's the website, here are the logos, here are the guidelines for colors. Please use those and then mix it in with volleyball or cross country or wrestling or whatever.
Yeah.
Sure.
I
You
know
wanna put the
some,
B on a, the volleyball or a softball or whatever.
I think
That's
since we're doing this, I just wanna make double sure that there's not any lack of continuity in what we set out to do. So it sounds like that's not the case, so.
No, so there, and to you, I think your question was, are we gonna add more?
Yeah.
I
I
don't,
didn't know if there was a cap in mind or.
no, I mean, we started out with 8 logos and we pared it down to 2. And then one of the coaches felt very passionate about the third one that we will vote on tonight.
Mhm.
So the committee, they felt like that should be, and Matt has a helmet in his locker, or it's not his locker, geez. His office that
Sounds
has
like that.
basically the same logo on it, so it has been used in the past. And it's our current football logo, so, yeah, I missed the meeting, but I don't think there was any concern about that. But yeah, I think going forward, the 3 logos would be the block B, the B with the oval, and then what we're calling the flying B with the spear and the feather.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I think, once all this is done, we're gonna put together something that on the website, like you said, that'll have the files to download straight.
Yeah, I've got, someone making vector files of the images, so you can make it huge and it doesn't pixelate. They look,
Good.
yeah, not so
And
great.
those will be
And
available to
also
everyone.
black and white images and images, so you have the B and then there's no background. So if you put it on your flyer, it can overlap something and that type of thing. So
Cool.
trying to have all those things, you can gather all those things, and there'll be a link on our website for all the access.
Awesome. Thank you. That's all I have.
I believe that's it for me.
If I can go back to 10.1 and just, on a personal note, there was donations there, memorial donations for Dorothy Watson, that was my mom. And I just wanted to thank the people out there in Cyberville for donating $820 to buy books for the kids. She was an Ohio Reads volunteer, a grandma friend. They were called grandma friends for a while. They were called many different things, but she was a volunteer who came in the schools and worked with first graders from about 1998, I think, on. And she did it right up until 2015.
Wow.
So, and she got all of her friends to do it as well. The kids, they would read with the kids every Tuesday. So, this is to buy books in her memory, and we're gonna put a little plate on the book that says donated in her memory. A lot of the kids remember her as Grandma Dorothy. So I just wanted to thank everybody for that.
That's great, awesome, thanks.
while we're on the subject of books, I just have to share a personal story. It was pretty cool getting my son's first piece of mail. It was a book from the Dolly Parton Imagination Library.
Awesome.
So future of literacy is going to matter in this town.
That's wonderful.
Program.
Okay, I will ask for a motion and a second to approve items 10.1 through 10.15.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call?
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Mr. Klein,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Graves.
Yep.
Mr. Blankenship.
Yes. Okay, so that brings us to discussion. There was just a couple things that I wanted to touch on. One was athletic council. We met last night. And Krista, feel free to add on if I missed anything. Couple of the topics that were probably the most heavily discussed was one, athletic boosters and the need for additional people to volunteer their time, talent, treasures to that organization to help build it up. They're kind of at a crossroads right now. They're, with COVID and some other things, that there hasn't been a whole lot of movement with the boosters over the last couple of years. And they're trying to get that, moving again. So if anyone here, anyone out there listening that has an interest in being involved with athletic boosters, please reach out to Matt McKeever in the athletic director's office, and he can point you in the right direction. So that's kind of where they are. With that, they're really on a spending freeze at the moment because their resources are very limited. So they need the help and the support to try to build up their fund again.
Do they have an acting president?
Yes, so it is Lisa Sharp, who I think's probably been on there for 6 to 8 months, maybe? Sometime in the spring.
Yeah,
It was
right at the
free.
end of the winter.
It was pre the pork chop dinner.
Okay.
So whenever that was in May, so sometime before then. So yes, they do have a president and there are a couple of other officers. But I think the meetings are not being well attended because there's just not very many people involved. So they're trying to increase their membership and bring in people with fresh ideas and do anything they can to help our athletic department. Anything else? No. Okay. And then the other topic that I'd say that was probably talked about the most were just overall facility upgrades with the athletics. We have several things, and a lot of things are more wish list, but some of them are, dugouts might be crumbling and there's cracks in the tennis court. So those are kind of the topics and things that need to be looked at, but coaches are kind of building a needs list and a want list, I would say. So that's kind of where they're at with that, and that's what we'll look at going forward, but just wanted to update you on that. And then lastly, just to kind of echo what Matt said about Sawyer and his family and what happened, it was a tragedy, and I want to thank, our staff for rallying behind him, but really, the entire Bucyrus community. There was a GoFundMe set up, and there was a ton of support that came in for him and his family. And, we may not always all agree on everything, but at the end of the day, we're a Bucyrus family. And I thought it was great to see everyone come together and, support him during this very difficult time. So I just wanted to thank everyone, everyone in general, the whole Bucyrus community for helping them out during that time.
Well said.
Anything else? Anyone else have anything? All right. So with that being said, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Roll call?
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mrs. Graves?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover?
Yes.
Mr. Blankenship.
Yes.
add something? I'm sorry, I got here late, I didn't know when to. And honestly, right now, I'm looking at tears for my own child.
What would you like to add?
I would just like to know why we are making these students wear the mask while they're in gym class and not providing them with water bottles, not providing them a break to take them off. My daughter came out of school 2 Fridays ago, was having trouble breathing.
Have you talked to the principal? Did you call?
Yes, I have. I was rudely told by the secretary that there would be nobody there because it happened over Labor Day weekend. I was then called by the gym teacher and told that she was allowed to sit down. She was not allowed to remove the mask. She was not allowed to go get a drink, and there were other children.
If you have a few minutes, we can go down and I'll get more information from you.
Okay.
That